Love can be beautiful, but sometimes it can also take a dark turn. In this gripping video, we explore the chilling story of a romantic rendezvous that ended in tragedy. Join us as we delve into the lives of two individuals whose passionate connection spiraled into chaos. What started as a night filled with love and promise quickly transformed into a scene of horror. This is a case that stays with you long after it is over because of its cruelty and gruesomeness. It is a chilling reminder that even the most romantic relationships can turn deadly. Hi there, I'm Raphael, and welcome to Shadows of Truth. Our story today takes us to the beautiful city of Chattanooga in the state of Tennessee, United States. In 2022, 22-year-old community college student Jasmine Pace, like many of us, turned to online dating in search of love. And soon enough, Jasmine matched with a guy who she thought was charming, handsome, and kind. The guy's name is Chen. Chen was 24 years old, a computer science major at the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. The two started dating for several months, though the relationship had not been serious enough to warrant an introduction to her parents. On Tuesday, November 22nd, 2022, the night before Thanksgiving, Jasmine Pace left her mother's home in Chattanooga, Tennessee at just before 11:30 p.m. She drove away in her white Chevy Equinox. The next day, Katrina Bean, Jasmine's mother, received a message from her daughter's phone saying she planned to stay at the home of her friend Emma for the rest of the week. When her mum got the message, she was at first puzzled because that was just so out of character for Jasmine to nonchalantly say, "Hey, I'm not coming home for Thanksgiving. I'm staying at my friend's house for a week." However, the message didn't immediately raise alarm bells. Jasmine had recently lost her grandmother to cancer, so when she opted out of the family gathering, the family believed she had chosen to be around her friends as she worked through her grief. But on November 26, 2022, 2 days after missing Thanksgiving, Jasmine posted a picture of herself to her Facebook page saying, "Thanksgiving with my baby." On seeing this post, Jasmine's mother, Katrina Bean, was immediately struck by the revealing outfit her daughter wore in the picture. It was not characteristic of Jasmine to post such a revealing photo of herself online. But it was another aspect of the photo that really set the alarm bells ringing. In this Facebook post, Jasmine's extensive tattoos on her upper right arm were missing. This post was definitely not what it claimed to be. Katrina immediately called Jasmine's number several times but got no response, so she called Jasmine's friend, Emma, who, according to the text message, Jasmine said she would be spending the week with. Emma confirmed what Katrina had already suspected. Jasmine was not with Emma. Now you can imagine the panic the family must be going through at this stage. Emma eventually got a response from Jasmine, but it was on Snapchat, and the response came from Jasmine's account, and it said, "I need time alone, give me a break." Jasmine's parents and siblings got similar responses and messages from Jasmine's phone, saying she would call them later, but nobody could actually talk to Jasmine on the phone to know if she was okay. This was very unsettling. According to the family, there was hardly a day gone by without them hearing from each other. The family began immediately to search for Jasmine. Jasmine's Chevy SUV was equipped with a GPS feature called My Chevy. The My Chevy app allowed her mother to track the location of the vehicle, and it was found, parked outside of a building of condominiums off Mountain Creek Road in Chattanooga. By the time the vehicle was discovered, it was already 8:30 p.m. on November 26th, 4 days after Jasmine had last been seen leaving her mother's house. As far as the family knew, Jasmine did not know anyone at the Signal View condos where the Chevy was parked. When they accessed the vehicle, the driver's seat had been pushed back. It seemed that someone much taller than Jasmine's petite 5'2" stature had last been behind the wheel. A call was placed to 911 to report her disappearance. Chattanooga police arrived and took a report detailing what the family had discovered. Lucky enough, Jasmine's phone number was on the family plan by the network provider, so Katrina contacted the customer service and was granted access to Jasmine's phone records. There had been no calls placed from the phone for days. With the call log in hand, the frantic mother began calling every number listed. She did so in the presence of police. There was one number that Jasmine had connected with for over an hour on the night of the 22nd. When Katrina tried this number, the phone connected to a young man, Chen, the guy Jasmine had met on the dating app. Neither of Jasmine's parents, Katrina nor Travis, had ever met Jason. So, they didn't know who he was. Nevertheless, he was informed that Jasmine was missing and was asked if he had seen or heard from her. Not for days, he said, and when they had last spoken, it had only been for a few minutes. Katrina instantly knew this to be a blatant lie. I mean, Jasmine's phone record is in her hands, and she could see right there that Jasmine and Jason had spoken for over 1 hour the night she disappeared.
He just lied, said that he hadn't talked to her. He talked to her for a few minutes Monday when she was with me at the bank. He talked to her for 71 minutes. He would remember that. He talked to her for over an hour, and he just lied.
Katrina instantly pleaded with the officers to start digging into Chen right away, but they declined, because at this point, there were no clear evidence of foul play. Seeing that the police were not as helpful as they expected, Katrina and Travis took matters into their own hands. They began knocking on every door at the condominium complex where the car was found, trying to find out if anyone had seen Jasmine. A security guard at the site agreed to share the camera footage of the parking lot. With the timestamps provided on the My Chevy app, they narrowed in on the footage on November 23rd. Just past 8:30 p.m., Jasmine's SUV drove into the lot and in the direction of the location where it was later found parked. The driver could not be identified. Frustrated, the frantic parents left for home. On getting home that night, Katrina, while scrolling through her phone, discovered a message that she had completely missed all this while. In the early morning hours of November 23rd, Jasmine had sent her mother a pin drop of her location. It was received at 2:18 a.m. Now this is very worrisome. Her daughter had never sent her a message like this before, certainly not in the middle of the night. So the next day, Sunday, November 27th, the family promptly went to the location from the message. The location was an apartment building at 110 Tremont Street. Again, the desperate parents knocked on every door at the building. All but one apartment answered their knock, and that was apartment 210. Now, weirdly enough, Tremont Street is just about 4.5 miles away from the condominium complex where Jasmine's Chevy had been found, a 12-minute drive away. And by now you can all guess who lived in apartment 210. Chen, of course. His neighbors recounted that they had heard a loud disturbance from the direction of that unit in the early hours of November 23rd. A neighbor, in fact, told Katrina that she heard a loud thud and someone screaming at 2:15 a.m., 3 minutes before Jasmine sent the pin location to her mom. That is very chilling. I mean, I can't imagine what must have been going through Katrina and Travis's mind at that very moment. No wonder that Katrina and Travis forced their way into the apartment. Now I must point out that their entering into the apartment, unallowed, became a very big issue at the trial, but I kind of understand their situation. When you are desperate, you do desperate things. And their action paid off at the end. They found Jasmine's driver's license and multiple credit cards inside the apartment, and this accelerated the pace of the entire investigation. Once they discovered their findings, Katrina called the police immediately. The officers arrived, they spoke with Katrina and interviewed some of the neighbors as well, and then they left. Believing that the law enforcement officers were too lackadaisical in their approach to the case, and coupled with her restlessness and desperation, Katrina re-entered the apartment multiple times over the next few hours. She took notebooks, multiple cell phones, a camera, and an iPad. Anything that she thought could give an indication of her daughter's location. The parents also searched through the dumpsters outside of the building. Close to midnight that same day, the Chattanooga police detectives returned to the apartment with a search warrant and began formally to commence their search. During the initial walkthrough, investigators noted what appeared to be bloody stains on the hardwood floor, in the living room, in the bathroom, and on the bedroom carpet. Blood spatter was also identified on the doors, in the bathroom wall. There was also a Walgreens bag with cleaning supplies on the couch, and trash bags had been emptied. Police checked the dumpsters and found 2 white sneakers and a pair of blue trousers. These items were collected. Back inside the unit, they spotted fragments of broken glass in the living room. In the bedroom, furniture appeared to have been moved around. There were marks on the carpet which indicated where furniture had sat for some time and had been subsequently moved to other parts of the room. The rearrangement of the room was likely done in an attempt to cover a large stain that was spotted underneath the bed. On top of the bed sat a kitchen knife. In virtually every room, investigators identified stains that could be blood. The crime scene unit was called in to spray down areas of the apartment with Blue Star, the forensic agent used to identify areas where blood may have been cleaned up or invisible to the naked eye. An extremely large reaction could be seen in the hallway, in the living room, the master bedroom, and the bathroom. This indicated that someone must have lost a large volume of blood in the apartment, and with that, the case of Jasmine Pace's disappearance became a homicide. Detectives obtained security camera footage from the apartment building and the surrounding area. From the footage obtained, investigators were now certain that Jasmine arrived 110 Tremont Street before midnight on the 22nd of November. Her Chevy Equinox was captured, taking a right turn into the building parking lot. At about 8:30 p.m., the day after Jasmine arrived, a figure in a light-colored hoodie was captured driving the Chevy away from the building towards the Signal View condos, the location where it was subsequently found. A dark-colored Prius, likely a hired taxi, collected that driver from the condos and dropped them off in front of Jason's building. A ring camera from the apartment door directly beside an exit door to the parking lot also captured Jason Chen leaving the building on multiple occasions on the 23rd, including at 8:27 p.m., 3 minutes before the driver in the light hoodie took Jasmine's SUV to the Signal View condos and left it there. There were a few additional trips made by Jason Chen over the Thanksgiving holiday that piqued the interest of investigators. The first was a morning trip to Walmart, where he purchased, amongst other things, Band-Aids, peroxide, and cleaning products. He was captured using the self-checkout terminal. The overhead Walmart camera offered a clear view of Jason's pair of white sneakers. These shoes were thought to be the same pair, found discarded outside of the apartment dumpsters. On the evening of the same day, Jason stopped at a Walgreens and purchased a package of paper towels. Sometime between his trip to Walmart that morning and the time he left the blood-stained and hastily clean apartment, he must have taken Jasmine from the building. Now this guy thought he was being smart, but like they say, over-smartness always kills a person. As investigators tracked Jason on various footage throughout Chattanooga, they were aided by his smart-ass notable white hoodie, a bright and distinct article of clothing that could be identified, even in dark and sometimes fuzzy surveillance. At almost 6 p.m. on the 23rd, the white hoodie emerged from the building once more. This time, the figure was struggling to pull a large suitcase from the front door of the building towards the parking lot. Moments later, Jason's black Toyota Camry was captured leaving. On November 29th, 1 week after Jasmine was last seen, Jason Chen was located at his parents' home in Nolanville. Arresting officers noticed lacerations on Jason's right hand and feet, indicative of a violent struggle.
He's gonna pat you down. He's gonna place in handcuffs. Not place you in arrest. You just policy. You go to the back of the car. So you gotta put handcuffs.
Okay. So you said there was a search warrant for me.
Correct. Yeah. There's search warrant for your person. So we're Norfolk Police Department. We're gonna be protecting you and your flashing the search warrant. We're assisting Chen.
Okay. And is there any like calls or anything?
They're gonna explain. That's it. Yeah. We're gonna let them do that, but I don't want to speak for them. Yeah, we don't want to let you misinform you of anything. So they'll tell you all that when we get down there. So just take it with them. They're the lead on this. But we'll let them explain it because we don't want to pile on.
While Jasmine's body was missing, her friends and family and community held a beautiful visual for her. The police and district attorney's office avowed their determination to find her and to bring closure to her family.
Until we find her. Any information that anybody has on the location, the whereabouts of Jasmine Pace, please contact the Chattanooga Police Department.
Meanwhile, a search warrant was obtained for Jason Chen's parents' house. In the room used by Jason, a black backpack and a collection of handwritten notes were confiscated. It seemed that Jason had planned for his inevitable interview with the police. Some of these notes appear to have been written by Jason trying to get his story straight and ready. On one of the notes, he stated that he had last seen Jasmine on November 19th. Phone records showed they had spoken on the 22nd. In the same backpack, inside of a glass case, detectives found a SIM card, and it was Jasmine's. From data downloaded from Jasmine's phone, detectives could see that her device had taken the trip to Walmart along with Jason that morning, though he was shown on camera driving and shopping alone. Finally, the phone's movements revealed where he had traveled after loading the large suitcase into his Camry. He had taken a drive to Suck Creek Road. The road ran parallel to the bank of a river. On Thursday, December 1st, walking along the bank of the river, investigators spotted an item. It was what they were unfortunately expecting to find: Jason Chen's large suitcase. Inside the suitcase, they found 98 pounds Jasmine Pace. She was wrapped in 3 trash bags and had been shackled with 2 handcuffs. Her right arm was cuffed to her right ankle, and her left ankle was linked to her right elbow. An autopsy would later determine that Jasmine had been stabbed no less than 60 times. This was obviously an overkill. This shows that this was a crime of passion, aggravated by hate and anger. Rarely do you see that amount of stab wounds when it is not personal. Somebody was truly angry and wanted to inflict maximum pain and make sure that the other person dies. Upon the news of Jasmine's remains being found, her friends, family, and community were just devastated. Many friends took to social media to describe Jasmine as a fun, kind, vibrant young woman with dreams and aspirations. One of her friends wrote on Facebook, "For those of you who knew Jazzy, you knew she always greeted everyone with a warm hug, bright smile, infectious laugh, and she truly was a bright light." Her sister wrote, "I've known Jasmine my entire life, and I've never seen her burn a bridge or have ends with someone badly. She was fierce over her family. She was fierce over her friends." On December 2022, a judge set Jason Chen's bond at $5 million. As the gruesome nature of the murder reached the news media, many expressed disgust that Jason was offered a bond at all. By this stage, a complete timeline had been pieced together, including evidence that showed Jason had used Jasmine's phone and SIM card to access her banking information, her social media accounts, and to post fake updates. Now take a moment and imagine that. This guy was so cold and calculating and never showed a tiny sign of remorse. This dude just went about his life as if nothing happened. In fact, while Jasmine lied dead in his bedroom, this guy was actively sending messages to another woman on Tinder. Later that night, he arranged to play Call of Duty online with his friends. "I just need to finish cleaning up my apartment," he wrote. On January 2025, Jason Chen's case finally came to trial. In the opening statements from the prosecution team, District Attorney General Coty Womp went straight to the point.
This is the suitcase in which Jason Chen stuffed the 98-pound body of Jasmine Chris. That's where I'm going to begin this story. Except I want you to remember that as you hear evidence in the next week, that this is not a story like the one that you read in a novel where you have to imagine the appearances of characters. The evidence that you will hear in this case is very real. The evidence will not require that you use your imagination. Jasmine Pace was very real. And Jason Chen really killed her. The suitcase was located in a brushy area just yards from the bank of the Tennessee River and right off of Suck Creek Road. In it was the body of Jasmine Pace, who had been placed in a fetal position inside of 3 black trash bags. Her right ankle was handcuffed to her right wrist. Her left ankle had been shackled to her right arm. Her wounds were extensive. You will hear from Dr. Cogswell, the medical examiner for Hamilton County, who will describe those wounds in great detail. He stabbed her over and over and over again, not 7 times, not 29 times, not 43 times, but 60 stab wounds.
He stabbed her over and over again, 60 stab wounds. The first witness to take the stand was Jasmine's mother, Katrina Bean. Katrina testified on the family's efforts to find Jasmine, including entering Chen's apartment unlawfully. When pressed on that, she said, "I wasn't thinking about a police investigation. I was just trying to find her," Katrina said.
It's normal for you to break into other people's apartments?
No,
And it's not normal for you to conduct a search like this?
it's not normal for my daughter to be missing.
However, in a shocking development, defense attorney Josh Wise did not fight for his client's innocence. In opening statements, he told the jury, Jason Chen killed Jasmine Pace, but that he didn't do it with premeditation. This is a case of voluntary manslaughter. Jason Chen is guilty, but he is not guilty of the crime he is charged with. He should be found guilty of the crime he did commit, not the crime he didn't commit, Weiss said. This strategy by the defense was a case of accepting the lesser of 2 evils. You see, in the state of Tennessee, voluntary manslaughter convictions carry a maximum sentence of 15 years and maximum fine of $10,000, whereas a first-degree murder conviction can carry the death penalty, life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, or life imprisonment with possible parole. Although the state was not pursuing the death penalty, Jason faced a life sentence without the possibility of parole if found guilty of first-degree premeditated murder. His best defense was to admit to a lesser charge. However, for the crime to be deemed voluntary manslaughter, the defense needed to convince the jury that Jason had killed Jasmine in a fit of passion, that he had been provoked somehow into reacting in an irrational way, which led to her death. The theory they posited was that the couple were drinking wine at his apartment late into the night when Jasmine entered the kitchen to get another bottle. She heard the distinct sound of notifications from the Tinder dating app. Angered by this, she began to argue with him. The claim was that Jasmine attacked Jason with a broken wine glass. Having used a kitchen knife to remove the seal from the previous wine bottle in the bedroom, he had left it sitting on the bedside table. It was this knife that Jason instinctively reached for when he was attacked. Wise explained away the shackles found on Jasmine's body by arguing that Jason had panicked after the stabbing. He applied the handcuffs in order to make Jasmine fit inside of the bags, and the suitcase. However, their argument was quickly disputed by the conclusions made by the medical examiner. They pointed to a premeditated attack. The medical examiner, Dr. Stephen Cogwell, also concluded that based on the location of the wounds, Jasmine had been in the fetal position while she was attacked. Furthermore, Jason's claim that the two of them had been drinking a bottle of wine that night was also refuted by the medical examiner. There were no traces of alcohol found on Jasmine's body. And finally, those Tinder notifications that apparently made Jasmine jealous and angered her enough to start a fight were also refuted. When the data from the app was examined by a state expert, they found that Jason had not received a single Tinder notification to his phone that entire day. As the hearing got underway, Chen's mother, Shufang Chen, testified through a Chinese interpreter. Shufang Chen fought to hold back tears as she described her son. She called him an obedient and diligent child. Asked if he had been a violent child, Chen responded that her son was a very good child who knows right from wrong. Now, many people have criticized and condemned Jason's mom on her testimony and her plea to the jury. But hey, she was just being a mother, and more often than none, parents are not responsible for the actions of their children. Honestly, guys, I feel terrible for the Chen family. It's terrible to see his mother up on that witness stand, sobbing uncontrollable. Jason Chen did not only cause harm to the Pace's family, but to his own family as well. Shame on him. Jason Chen chose not to testify in his defense. After 7 days of testimony, jurors, in less than an hour, unanimously reached the decision that Jasmine Pace's murder was especially heinous, atrocious, and cruel.
Stand, Chen, please stand up your turn. Sorry, please, sure, go ahead. I'm sorry, the very top sentence there, with respect.
With respect to the sentence of the defendant, Jason Chen, on count 1 of presentment 315228, we, the jury, do unanimously find the following statutory aggravating circumstances beyond a reasonable doubt, in that the murder was especially heinous, atrocious, or cruel, and that it involved torture or serious physical abuse beyond that necessary to produce death, and do unanimously agree that the defendant's sentence shall be life imprisonment without the possibility of parole.
The jury found him guilty of both first-degree premeditated murder and abuse of a corpse, and he should spend the rest of his life behind bars without the chance of parole. Members of the victim's family in the gallery collectively exhaled and clapped before Criminal Court Judge Boyd Patterson requested they keep their emotional reactions to themselves. The next day, on January 21st, 2025, Jason Chen was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole for the murder of Jasmine Pace. This is the tragic story of Jasmine Pace. I can only pray that none of us come to such a tragic end of our lives. To know that she died scared and fully aware makes this even more heinous. My thoughts and prayers go out to Jasmine's family and friends. The death of a child of any age is devastating. Trying to make sense of the incomprehensible fact that someone knowingly, willingly, and intentionally killed your child is a painful experience. No parent ever think of living beyond their child. They expect to see their children grow up, attend college, get married, and start a family, and so on and so forth. But for the Pace's family, this hope has been forever shattered by a 24-year-old who couldn't control his impulses. Jason Chen doesn't deserve parole, and I hope he hates every second of the rest of his life. Rest in peace, Jasmine. So friends, whatever you do in life, please, always be careful who you trust. There are so many monsters walking amongst us with friendly faces. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Raphael, and this is Shadows of Truth, and I will see you in the next one.